I am the first person to do the presentation. This is my graduation project, an error analysis of EFL students' translation of Vietnamese personal objectives into English. The principal contents include a problem statement and research question, literature review, methodology, findings and discussion, and conclusion. Firstly, the problem statement. It is a fact that Vietnamese adjectives are structurally flexible and personally different from the English adjectives. For example, the word sad can function as an adjective, and sometimes it can function as a verb. For example, the adjective can be far in English. For example, nhà tôi xa lắm in Vietnamese can be translated as my house is very far away. Sometimes sad can be a verb. For example, cô ấy đang xa dần tôi. She is gradually drifting away from me. Misinterpreting the word past person can lead to certain translation errors. However, to date, no systematic research has analyzed the personal adjective as a distinct source of translation difficulty. My study has the aims and research questions as follows. The aim is to identify the common types of errors that Vietnamese EFL students make when translating the personal objectives into English, and to explore the root causes of these errors. And the research question number 1 is what types of errors do EFL students commonly make when translating Vietnamese personal objectives into English? And number 2, what are the possible causes of this error in specific contexts? The literature review focus on the personal objectives firstly, and then the role of translation in language, teaching and its challenges in Vietnam, and theoretical frameworks for analyzing translation errors, which focus on contrastive analysis, hypothesis, interlanguage theory, and numerous translation error theory. And the literature review continues with types and causes of translation errors. Corders error analysis framework with five-stage model, identifying, classifying, explaining, evaluating, and remediating errors, offering a systematic method for understanding translation difficulties. And numerous error types include semantic errors, stylistic errors, functional errors, cultural errors, and technical errors. The common causes that I reviewed include L1 interference, incomplete understanding of the source text, lack of tagging, audience awareness, and semantic communicative imbalance. About the methodology, my research used mixed methods, methodology, and it includes the quantitative and the qualitative methods. The content and participants include 80 students at university, which include two groups, majors and non-major students. And the instrument includes the test and interview. The test for finding the common errors, and the interview for the finding underlying causes. And the data analysis procedures, including identifying and classifying errors, distinguishing between errors and mistakes, coding and quantifying errors, visualizing data, thematic analysis of interview responses, and linking qualitative data with test results to explain causes of errors. And the findings two parts. Common types of error in translating Vietnamese bipersonal adjectives into English among beginner students. And the second one is causes of the errors when translating Vietnamese bipersonal adjectives into English. The first one, common types of error, focus collected from the text, including lexical errors, grammatical errors, semantic errors, literal errors, omission error, and unnecessary addition errors. The total quantity of errors include 474 errors in total, and the major got 176 errors. The non-major had 298 errors. The error frequency is that lexical error was the most frequent in both groups. And non-major students made more lexical, grammatical, and semantic errors than English majors. And the non-majors got 186 lexical errors, 82 grammatical errors, and 21 semantic errors, while the major student got 121 lexical errors, 26 grammatical errors, and 9 semantic errors. Concerning the causes of the errors, there are four types of causes. L1 interference, limited grammatical knowledge, confusing the variable class, and habit of literal translation. I go to the conclusion with some principal ideas. First one, the key finding compared to previous studies, common errors. My study linked with earlier research, for example, from Đỗ and Hoàng and Oanh in identifying 6 main types of errors. And it supports Carter and James that native language interference and incomplete competence are major error sources. And the second one, key finding compared to previous studies, underlying causes. The study has an alignment with Carter interlanguage theory that errors stem from both L1 and L2 interaction and lack of target language knowledge. This is evidenced by L1 interference and word-for-word translation. And it has a support for Newmark's view that importance in identifying grammatical function and contextual meaning, especially with bipersonal adjectives. And it has a consistency with one and one that lexical and grammatical errors more common in student translation and alternate to build grammar and vocabulary by radical exercises and error analysis. Finally, I go to the pedagogical implication. That theoretical instruction on bipersonal words should be strengthened, especially by clarifying grammatical differences between Vietnamese and English and using annotated examples. A translation exercise should be based on short, contextualized paragraph combined with group discussion focuses on feedback and specialized rules to enhance learning effectiveness. So this is my presentation. Thank you for listening, and I look forward for your comments. Thank you.
Invite
em thầy, for example, Phạm Hồng Hải in the article về ý nghĩa đặc trưng của tuyến đường. So there's a supplement for this findings by comparing Vietnamese and English adjective. Phạm study shows that unlike English adjective, Vietnamese adjective are not static descriptors, but instead reflect a dynamic nature that is deeply connected to the morphology of the language. And then Võ Thị Ngọc Anh in the article hiện tượng chuyển loại giữa danh từ và động từ trong tiếng Việt và tiếng Anh also discusses the phenomenon of word class conversion in Vietnamese. And Võ argues that adjectives can shift into verbs depending on the context of use. Dictionary and websites are also sources of citation for this study. The vocabulary items and illustrative of the sample in this study are not quoted material, but they were constructed by the author based on how these adjectives are commonly used in everyday communication and were cross-validated with authentic instances collected from very reliable websites. And I can verify them once more using Vietnamese dictionary by lexicographer Hoàng Phê. So the references cited for this part include from the author Đinh Văn Đức, Hoàng Phê, Phạm Hồng Hải, and Võ Thị Ngọc Anh. This is for the first question.
Okay. The brief answer to the second question. Anything new?
Yeah, thank you. The new contribution of that in that study, I think that especially focus on Vietnamese personal objectives translation. It highlights the critical role of Vietnamese grammar knowledge, not just in its proficiency. When I conduct the interview, one noteworthy point from the interview results that only 7 out of 10 students interviewed can provide examples of correct description of the phenomenon in functional adjectives, and they had talked about the Vietnamese grammar in their curriculum, but only 3 of 10 students interviewed had no idea about the functional adjective in Vietnamese, and they are the non-major students. They have had not taught. So in practice, study shows that only the major are taught grammar in their university program, while non-major students do not receive instruction in this subject. Therefore, incorporating the content of the functional adjective in translation teaching is necessary to enhance student competence in the subject. So I think that is the new point of the study. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. The reason why I asked the question, because it is very important in citation. On the one hand, the direct citation. On the other hand, you have the indirect citation. However, it shouldn't be in the point of your subjective comments or any of your understanding. And then you quote that the scholar mentioned the kind of bifunctional adjective as the verb. I don't think Professor Cao Xuân Hạng or Đinh Văn Đức identify the kind of adjective as the verb. And it should be very clear to show the point in terms of attributive adjective or predicative adjective. And in your explanation to the errors made by the student, you can have your comments, your subjective analysis in your own view. But I don't think the citation will show that the scholar made up with. So it should be very clear to the bifunctional adjective as your point. Okay? Anyway, this is a good research project, and I would like to make the comment from the beginning by the good point of the research. The author has made a good choice on the topic of an error analysis of EFL student translation of Vietnamese bifunctional adjectives into English. The research has met the requirement of a master graduation project in English linguistics in terms of theoretical and practical significance. It can be stated that the research is close to the field of study. Its results, as claimed in the graduation project, are original, and no part of the other publication have been copied or used without due acknowledgement in the text of the graduation project. The graduation project has been coherently designed and conducted on the basis of literature review, theoretical background, with relevant answer to the research questions. The research method can generally be seen suitable. Data collected for analysis can be considered authentic and valid for the finding and discussion provided. The structure of the graduation project is relevant, with the content distributed in 5 chapters, in which the main part of the graduation project is in chapter 4 of findings and discussion. The graduation project can be considered significant as a scientific work in relation to theory related to translation in terms of interlanguage theory and translation error theory, leading to the translation error analysis module applied to the study. And I would like to suggest the following point be reconsidered and correction be made for the satisfactory completion of your research. At first, the definition of bifunctional adjective should be provided right at the beginning of your research, or at least it should be in section 2.1.3 of the heading bifunctional adjective in Vietnamese. In the abstract of the thesis, the key point of finding should that contribute to knowledge should briefly be presented to provide your readers with the core issues of the thesis contribution at the first look. For instance, the frequencies of the categories investigated should be provided. The reason for most frequently occurring lexical grammatical errors should briefly be explained. This is because your study planned to investigate the causes of error commonly made by Vietnamese students when translating from Vietnamese into English. So the frequencies count should be provided. Some of the wording in the literature review should be double checked, as they seem to be subjectively presented in your own view, exactly as in the citation. For example, at the beginning of chapter 2, you have this saying, according to the same study of Dinh, 2011, it is not clear what to be meant by the same study, because you didn't have anything presented previously. Okay? It is in section 2.1.1, the title, the heading is Features of Adjectives in English, but not any citation of English author was found. So it should be the additional part of the citation for what you mean as features of adjective in English. Therefore, the point presented in the 2 section of 2.1.1, 2.1.2 should be double checked to go with the heading of the features of adjective in English and Vietnamese respectively. I adjective, noun, both carry verbal meaning and noun, or both are adjective but they function as verb. I don't think we can state it. We can stay in the subjective view, or we can claim that noun or both function as verb. Yeah, because they are predicative adjective. Yeah, they must be adjective. And the analysis for the student error may be conducted in the explanation as predicative adjective. Follow the verb be in the explanation. It should be the important point to identify, and more discussion should be added to identify the function of heart or good in such example. And in Vietnamese actually, you should also explain the function of the predicative adjective this way. They cannot be the verb. In section 2.7, the author claims that according to them, many Vietnamese adjectives can be used as the main verb in a sentence without needing the verb to be. I don't think this is the right explanation, and it should be reconsidered in a sophisticated way. Okay? The sources of such claim and citation should be provided, and exactly the scholar in Vietnamese, and you should highlight the point, or even their direct citation should be provided. Anything of your subjective explanation should be reconsidered, even being edited. In chapter 3, the criteria set in advance for the compilation of the translation text should be described. The criteria set in advance for the encoding of the meta-discourse marker should be provided, and the tool used to identify common type of error and instrument used to measure the frequency should be described. I mean that you have to identify the criteria for your compiling the translation text, and then from that way you can have the identification of the error made by the student. The point presented in the part of reliability, validity should be reconsidered, and some shortcoming in terms of language error, word use error should be double checked for the satisfactory completion of the research project. And when such amendment has completely been made, this graduation project can be treated as a good piece of research at postgraduate level, and for Viwood is recommended to be granted with a master degree in the English linguistics. My congratulations. Thank you.
Associate Professor Trần Hữu Phúc. Now I'd like to invite the Associate Professor Phương Hoàng Yến to present your comments and questions.
Yeah. So thank you, Phúc, for your very detailed comments. I'm not going to repeat your comments. I completely agree with you that the definition, the working definition of bifunctional adjective should be given, right? Regarding the structure, I have some suggestion over here, but I suggest that maybe you want to include one part about the significance of the study in chapter 1, because in chapter 1, maybe it gives the reader some kind of signal that, okay, this is the usefulness of your study. You may want to include it. At the same time, I would like you to look at the limitation and future research. You have a very detailed limitation of your study. However, I believe that some of the limitations are not limitation. For example, you said that the research sample is limited to 80 students, but with the huge work that you have done, I think 80 is a lot already. Yeah. And 10 interview, it with careful administration, it is good already. So they are not actually your limitation. So you may want to separate limitation and future research into different sections. You may focus on the fact that table pages mentioned, for example, based on what criteria or what resources that you decide that this is bifunctional adjective, and based on what resources that you identify them as different things. For example, it would be more accurate, right? Other thing, other compliments, I'm not going to repeat. You can read it in my paper later. I just have one question for you. So people say that nowadays AI tools are very powerful. Do you think that someday AI tool can replace translator, or whether they assist or they limit the learning process of the translation? Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much. This has been about your question concerning the AI tools. I think that using AI tools has both benefits and disadvantages. On the benefit side, I think that, for example, Grammarly or DeepL, sometimes I use them and I see that they can help me so much. For example, detecting quickly the grammar or spelling errors. While DeepL can provide real-life examples, it's just more natural expression sometimes. In addition, when searching for idioms or fixed expression, AI can offer faster than a dictionary. So I think it is very useful. But it has some drawbacks. For example, when translating specialized content or sometimes AI-generated translation can be too general or even wrong if there's no specific context. So personally, I also find that AI often makes stylistic mistakes. For example, translating a sentence too formally, so making it unsuitable for real-life use. So I think AI can be used in teaching and learning translation with critical thinking, meaning that one should always double check AI translation and correct mistake. Yeah. And learner can use AI as a tool for suggestion on vocabulary, structure, idioms. But personally, I think that to truly master translation, we should not use AI too much because it can kill our critical thinking. I think that. So it cannot replace translation in the future. I think so. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the very detailed comments and positive and practical recommendations from the two reviewers. So I'd like to invite other members of the committee. Do you have any further questions for the candidates? Any other questions?
Thanks for the presentation. Not really a question, but I think it's on. I think on page 69, I'm not sure, but it seems to be there is a misaligned number between what we say the sample, for example, you say the sample 37, the student translated each word, but then the number is not really aligned.
very much, Dr. Comments, and I'm going to give you some comments as well, very brief, because other comments have been mentioned by the reviewers and members of the committee. So I'd like to recommend that you improve example clarity and expand error analysis with more student samples per error type. Okay, because I see that only one example per error type is not quite logical here. And greater methodological transparency is needed in explaining participant selection and test procedures. And other comments are never given in detail in the paper here, and other members as well. So we will send you the comments so that you can discuss with your supervisor and make a suitable revision before submission. Okay, thank you very much. So now I'd like you to wait outside for a few minutes while the committee decides and reach a decision.